How's everybody doing today? Good
Tired,
Sunday.
but good.
Yes. I feel you on that, Morgan. I'm a little bit tired too. I'm like, oh, come on, energy. Hang in there with me. I got up early this morning, went on a writing stream, and I've been like writing and working ever since. And then I just took a quick break, and now I'm like, oh, that break. I should have just kept going. It's one of those things. Hey, little guy. Oh my goodness, he's so cute.
It helps them sometimes. Okay, go watch.
So
I realized
welcome.
I ate, and which is a good thing, because I bet if I didn't eat, my critique would be harsh. And let's face it, The Princess Bride doesn't deserve a harsh critique ever. So
no,
you're welcome.
It's delightful. So welcome. Let's go around clockwise. Let everybody introduce themselves. Let the folks know where they can find you. And welcome to Scripting the Book, episode 2, where we are talking about The Princess Bride. I'm so excited. One from my childhood. Yes, that's how old I am. Morgan, take it away.
All right. So hello, everybody. My name is Morgan Lee. I am an indie author. I have a YouTube channel here with the same name. I post every Wednesday and Friday, usually with a live stream on Monday. So, yeah.
Excellent.
Sorry, I had to unmute. I was like, where is it? I lost the screen for a second. I am Natalie Locke. Links down below. Right now, I'm in the middle of Flash Fiction February, and I do Flash Fiction Live with Chandra Author every Saturday. Next Saturday will be on my channel. That's pretty much the spiel. Oh, and I'm also on TikTok, and I'm having fun with posting my reels also on Instagram with editing tips and countering cliches.
Saying hi to folks. Ben, unmute yourself so we can hear your fabulous introduction.
Thank you. I'm Ben Pick. I post weekly on Monday nights on YouTube as Running2Write. You can find me on Instagram, where I post my running and writing updates, but primarily focused on YouTube. So check me out there.
And I am the Vixen of Fiction. You are here on my channel. I host this lovely show with my fantastic co-host. I also host Authortubers React, which we'll be doing at the end of the month. And also on the last day of the month, I host with Sarah and Chandra Writer's Wrap-Up. So if you ever want to join us for that, shoot me a message. Let me know if you ever have anything coming up, or you just did something big in the month and you want to just get that shout out and get the support. Let us know. We'd love to have you on for that. So that is me. You're on my channel. I'm also on Twitch and Instagram, and I do writing streams on Fridays on Twitch at noonish, usually between 12 and 1 at some time, depending on the kids and the fam. I get there. So today we are talking The Princess Bride. I remember this one when I was a very little kid, and I loved it. We wanted to watch it as much as we could. I think, I don't know if we had a VHS yet at this time, but I remember it was coming on cable. And
yeah, 1987 was when it was released. The book came out in 1981, if I remember my facts straight on this.
Yeah. So I remember just like every time.
Actually, not. It wasn't 81 because it was
the
like
director or something like that.
Yeah, I was like, the director of the movie in 87 talked about how his dad, in the abridged version of the book, talked about how his dad would read the book to him as a kid, and his dad read him his own abridged version of the story. And it wasn't until he got older and had his kid read it, and the kid was like, yeah, this is boring. He's like, what? Are you kidding me? And then he realized what his dad did all of those years was, please don't touch my camera. Stop operating things. You're not cleared to be the tech guy. Okay. But he didn't realize that his dad had edited out all the boring parts. And so that's how we got the abridged version of the book as well as the movie. It was all the boring parts cut out.
Yep. And so I think that's the one that I read for this reread. So I got to read it. So the way that it was written, it's him the guy is reading it to his son, and his wife is kind of like listening in. But then in the movie, we've got him as the grandfather reading it to his grandson. So very cool.
Yes, Dad's on. And actually,
so-
this was also, the movie was also redone, sort of, like paying homage to it. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Okay, my son fell in the... All right, my son fell down in the kitchen as he's running. I forget the app, but it was like 5-minute spurts, like Ulup or something like that.
Mhm.
But it was a whole bunch of celebrities reenacting this, like right as everything started in the lockdown. So it was fun to watch that.
I'll have to go back and watch that. I think I heard about that, and I should have watched it. Oh my goodness! So yeah, I'll go back and watch that.
I specifically got the app and used like the 2 weeks of free whatever you have for it just to watch that, and then I was like, I'm not paying for it.
Oh, it was great. But yeah, it looks like the novel came out in 1973, and I thought the whole abridged version was kind of fake, where it was him pretending that he was a kid listening to his dad read him this bedtime story. I didn't realize that there was a...
I didn't take that. I took him as like, he gave the intro of like, hey, my dad read this to me and I loved it, but but then he decided to read it on his own. And then he chimed in at one point and said his mother, not his mother, his wife.
Yeah, that's
like at the very end. He was like, okay, I've read this enough and I adored it enough, even trying to read to my own son. But my wife would get on to me if I did not keep this part in here and like read the part, which I forget what it was.
See, I didn't read the abridged version, and I just watched the movie like last week for the first time ever.
Oh wow!
Oh my god, you got to give us your take.
I missed it.
You got the floor.
But it was amazing. Like, I don't know. I loved it so much. And I don't know how I went so long without seeing it. Like, I would quote it. Like, I knew all the quotes from the movie. I don't know how I knew them, but I knew where they were from. I knew the quotes of the movie and everything. I never watched it. And it was just fantastic. Like, it was great. I loved it.
They actually didn't know how to market it because they were like, it's a love story, but it's an action, but it's, and they were really confused in marketing it. So when it went out in theaters, it kind of flopped in a way. And it wasn't until either VHS or maybe when the DVD. So at some point, it became a cult. VHS. Yeah, at some point it did become a cult classic. And the cult mindset came and said, no. Hollywood, you did this one right.
Yeah, it was also on TV like every other week or so. I remember having it available frequently. And that was before we had, streaming or TiVo or the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do we want to talk about the world that they filmed it in, like, and how they created that? Or do we want to talk about the actors they chose for the characters?
We can, if you want to go into the world, we could do that one first.
I think the world was actually well done. But of course, I grew up watching the movie first. So when it came to the actually like reading the book, though for me it was audiobook, it was fine. Like I imagined the fire swamp exactly, and though I don't remember, they didn't have rodents of unusual size, did they, in the book?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. They didn't have the eels, the screeching eels.
They had sharks instead.
They had
sharks instead, and then they didn't. Well, we'll get into this when it talks about when we talk about the things that changed.
That changed,
but they didn't have the zoo part, so there was little differences.
Little differences, but slight differences, and honestly, I still think it's good. But the world building, I thought the costumes were on point. I thought the landscapes, and there was a few times, Big Horse watching now, that I'm like, I can tell this is done in the late 80s. It kind of made me think of a British. Of course, they filmed it in England, if I remember correctly. But it kind of made me think of a like British cinematography for the most part. At certain points with the very soft, bright light on their faces and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So that stood out to me, but it's still timeless in my mind.
Yeah, it's funny because this might be one of the movies that makes me like that bright lightness, because I kind of feel like because I was raised up with it. So now, even now, when people do, because everything's so dark, film's very dark now. So now when something
Last
is
episode
filmed
of Game of Thrones.
yeah. And so when there are those really bright scenes, it like something about it just resonates with me. I'm like, oh, here we are. We're in the light. It's pretty.
Morgan,
But
Ben,
yeah.
what do y'all think about the world? Was it depicted well?
Beautiful. And they had like the perfect actors at the right time. And even now, like I've seen some of them talk at conferences. I've seen them talk about this work. And like you mentioned, during that early COVID experience, they brought in Carrie Elways. They brought in everyone to just comment about it. And they still feel like their role. I mean, a lot of them have gone on to be incredible things. Robin Wright was Wonder Woman's mother. And they were able to just reignite such passion between, you know, the actors. It really felt like they were a family, and they were just the right people at the right time.
Oh yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
then if you read like the behind the scenes stuff, so Carrie L's his memoir As You Wish talks about how he broke his foot, or broke his toes when he tumbled down the hill, and then the running, he's kind of limping as they're running towards the fire swamp and stuff. So there's those little behind the scenes things that are just so fun.
You're like, oh, it worked though. It
yeah,
went right.
And then like the actor that played Inigo Montoya, his father had died before filming began, or it was kind of recent, and so he was still kind of grieving. But when he said the line, and I'm going to quote it exactly in the movie, so I apologize for the language, but when he said the line, "I want my father back, you son of a bitch," he said it, and he said in that moment, in an interview, in that moment, it's like I was able to get my father back.
Mm-hmm.
And so
when we get into the talking more about the actors, I want to talk about that because you feel that.
Yes, it is a very, very powerful line. So many behind the scenes, like, because it's not just, to me, the world, but it's like the world outside the world and stuff. Like, we talk about Gilder, but we never saw Gilder, the country that it was supposed to start. And there's actually a murder plot the whole time by Humperdinck to kill his fiance, soon to be wife and everything. So I think world building, it was spot on. There's not a thing I would change with it. Yeah. Especially knowing the technology they had at that time. The fact that, I mean, rodents of unusual size, let's face it, like that. If a movie came out like that, like we would be like, all right, college kids, get your act together, do something better. But in that time, perfect, spot on.
Did the sets bother you because you could tell when they were actually outdoors, and then when they went to a closed set where like the boulders and stuff like that looked very stacked? Did that bother you? Because sometimes when I'm watching an old show, it stands out, but in something about this, I didn't care.
No,
I will say that in that scene, the thing that stood out for me more is that when they Carrie Elways like has a point where he leaps forward and he like clings to a bar, and that is blatantly just workout equipment. So
during the fight scene, which by the way, that was the fencing scene, was the last scene they filmed. Like they studied for about like 5 months, 2 months, or they studied for a long time, and it was the last scene they filmed. But I have to admit, some of the acrobatic stuff, I'm like, all right, now you're just showing off, you're taking away and stuff. So either way, but world building, spot on. Like the spaces created, I thought it was great. The things to call the places, Cliffs of Insanity and stuff, and then I hope we have an entire thing about quotes from the movie?
We need that.
Yeah,
we could even just do it with memes.
I know, pretty much. So all right, between now and the end of this stream, I'm going to just write down a few of the ones I can remember, and we'll just go through the list. But all right, so do we feel world building is covered?
Yes, because I do want to talk more about the casting and acting. Like, even when I was reading it, you know that these guys are supposed to be the bad guys, and I loved them immediately. They've just kidnapped her, and I'm just like, I don't care. I just want to hear your banter. And Andre the Giant, like, oh my gosh.
I like the banter more in the story than I did in the movie, because once I heard the banter in the story, I was like, oh, this is really good. But it would
It's so
also
much
take
more.
it's so much more, and it would have taken a lot more screen time. So they did a good job sampling it. But I'm glad they got Andre the Giant for it. There's so many stories of on set where, like, I mean, Andre apparently was a drunk, and he'd clean like suitcases of beer. Of course, they didn't really have suitcases; it was pitchers and such like that. Where they were filming, like he could drink everyone, like tenfold. Kids loved him, and he was so sweet, and like just toss him around, like didn't mind. And then there was actually an entire scene where he was talking about they were filming, and I forget which scene it was, but Andre the Giant let out a huge fart. Like, it lasted an entire minute on set, and everyone was like, "You okay?" And he's like, "I feel better now." And then they kept on recording after that. Like, they were able to pick back up. But so there's a lot of set stories that I think that just show like the chemistry between the characters that you hear about what happened off screen makes sense for the chemistry that you see on screen. Because I will say, Buttercup and Wesley, I felt it. Like, there was a lot there.
Yeah,
and
when you talk about acting and looks, that when he says "as you wish," when she realizes it, you know how in the story it says that he was saying "as you wish," meaning I love you. When she realizes it, you can see it in her face, and it's just like, oh, there it is.
Yeah. And the way she was described in the book is like, apparently she was a tomboy that never took care of herself. But Wesley still, like, he loved her at her worst. Then she started bathing and brushing her hair and stuff like that, and in the book, and then she got better. And because it was funny, like, the book described it, and I loved it when the book did this, where they took like a rank structure, and it was like, she's usually top 20 easy, but if she put effort, like, when she puts in effort, she's top 10. Like, I was like. And they did the same thing. Like, there's been the 5 greatest loves in history, and this blew them out of the water. There's been
the greatest kiss
and stuff like that, like the end of the movie. So, either way, I think the casting was great for Roman Wright, because it was she's very like soft features, nothing too harsh. Her hair, like, I feel like her hair, I don't know how princesses were depicted, but I feel like she might have set the standard of Renaissance princesses having long, wavy hair. Like, I could see that becoming the trend because of this movie easily, because it just nails it on point, and the costumes are great. And then, no, that goes back to quotes, so I'll mention that one later.
So you didn't find the rating of their beauty to be a little bit cringe at this in the book version?
I found it comical. I found it's almost satirical in a way. A little bit, like, satirical of itself.
Like, not taking itself seriously. Like, he's not really, like, out here judging the women. You know, it's more like, you know, how they say on a scale of 1 to 10 or something like that. But I think I do wonder about some things, particularly with the way it reads, because they call people the Spaniard, the Turk. Would that if it was rewritten, would they change that? Because it was a lot less of that in the movie. Because once they had their names, I think they only said the Turk once, and I don't know if they did say
Spaniard. Because
I think they said Spaniard, not Turk.
Because the 6-Finger Man said, "Oh, you're the little Spanish boy." He might have said Spanish boy that I taught a lesson to all those years ago. I feel like they might be mentioned once or twice, but the region that the person hails from would be indicative of their name. And that's how they would do it. And for casting, we would make sure that we get someone from that region, because Cary Ells was knocked for his accent from critics a little bit. Like, of course, me being American, I thought it was okay, but people from the region, didn't quite like it. And I know that is something that Hollywood continues to sometimes get wrong, is they say, oh yeah, this person's from here, and their accent sucks.
Yeah, it's like, that's
like,
not the right one. That ain't it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think they said albino in the movie, but
No.
I don't think if it was rewritten today, I don't think that they would write it.
I think they would have casted the same and everything, staying true, but they would pick somebody who's actually albino. Like, I think they would stay true and picking from a pool of people that are true representations of what they're supposed to, instead of making someone tanner to make them look like they're from a different part of the world, or paling someone's skin to depict them as an albino. I think they would be more make the actors already closer to what they're trying to portray.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. Andre the Giant was partially deaf and everything. And I know it affected the whole cast when Andre passed away and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
And I think because he was in several other things, and I know he was one of the bad guys in one of the Bond movies and stuff like that, but or something like that. But this is the movie this is what I most remember Andre the Giant for. Yep.
I can't think of an actor that I didn't like, because even the Six Figure Man, he portrayed that well. The guy who's in front of the gate, Yezin, I think his name, who has the key to the gate, and which I'm going to jump into the quote just a little bit, because for anybody who doesn't remember who this guy is, this is where they have him cornered. His 60 men have left him abandoned because they got so afraid from Andre depicting himself as the Dread Pirate Roberts set himself on fire. But he's cornered, and they said, "Give us the gate key." And the guy goes, "What gate key? There's no gate key." And then Inigo says, and I mispronounced it, Montoya, I can pronounce that at least. Montoya says, "Tear his arms off," Fezzik. And then he went, "Oh, you mean this gate key?" Like, magically pulls it up. It makes me laugh every time, like, just the delivery of, like, tear his arms off, "Oh, this gate key," and stuff. And then, yeah, I'm still writing down my quotes. Trust me. I'm going to have a whole list.
That's good.
I'm pretty much depicting the entire movie right now. I'll put them in order.
Yeah, I loved how, like, literally some of the scenes, they brought them to life so well. It's like, it's exactly how I would imagine them being done. Like, even when I think it's the Man in Black and Fezzik are fighting, and how he jumps on his back and he's trying to choke him out, and he's slowly talking to him, and he's explaining how usually I have to fight a bunch of guys, and it's easier to fight a bunch of guys. And then you hear his voice, like, slowing down as he's slowly being choked out, and, he's fighting, trying to figure out how to fight one guy at the same time, not realizing that he's passing out. So he's bashing him against the rock, and he's like, all of that. I'm just like, this is great. Yes, this is exactly how I see it in my mind.
I think that was almost foreshadowing for when Wesley's laying in the bed and he's like, "Gently." He's kind of making the same grunts and moans when he's fighting Fezzik and getting squished pretty much between a rock and a giant. And he's like going, "Ugh," and stuff. And he does the same thing when Buttercup kisses him and he's laying in the bed and he's like, "Gently." So.
Gently. It's like, gently.
Listen, I just let Spencer run around. As long as he's not endangering himself or others, he's got free reign at this point. He's exploring the world. Who is that?
I could see that.
Oh my God.
Incredible Hulk. Yes, I'm an 80s baby. So yeah, I'm like, oh
yeah,
the Incredible Hulk. I could see that, but I'm glad it was Andre though.
Yeah, Andre, I feel very well. And then and I liked his accent and everything a little bit there. And actually I understood more. I'll say that here's a slight change. I understood more about going back to the beginning after listening to the book, and because I didn't realize that apparently Montoya and Fezzik are supposed to be kind of dim-witted and such. That I for the movie they made them smarter, and I was a little happy. I was happy with that because to me it seems just
it would be too much. It would be probably too much if you were watching them be that silly. But the level that they gave it made sense. You know, you've got Inigo wasn't raised with a father, so you could imagine this little boy kind of on his own trying to figure things out. So that's his education level. And then Andre it's like he's not Andre or Fezzik. He's not dumb. It's just that, you know, because of maybe the way that he speaks, people might think that he is, but he knows what he's talking about. And you're like, yeah, he knows what he's talking about. Like, again, back when he's explaining how he normally fights, he knows what he's talking about, you know, but I think people might see this big giant and think that he doesn't know what's going on, but he does. He's like, I know how to fight, but I don't know how to fight one guy. And he's literally going through the logic. You know what I mean? I'm like, this guy is smart. He knew to go back to the beginning, and he liked his rhymes. It's okay. I like rhymes too. It's all good.
So you just mentioned two different things I really liked about the book is that they expanded a lot more on the rhyming thing for Fezzik's character. And it's almost in every scene he's in, he's trying to rhyme something to show that it's either his own way of remembering what he's supposed to do or his way of conveying his thoughts. And then in terms of fighting one man versus many, the book went into specific details of both their backstories, or I guess all three of their backstories of the villains. And we learned about Fezzik's relationship with his parents and where Inigo Montoya went after his father was killed. And we learned so much more about them through the book, which was actually really, really cool. And I can see how those backstories all influence the actors' portrayals, even though that wasn't specifically shown on the screen.
Yep.
Totally this is what I like about books and movies or books and shows is that when you consume both, it's like you get the most in-depth world building and backstories and stuff. Like you know all is what it feels like.
Yeah, and I love that whole going back to the beginning for Fezzik and Igno.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna say it wrong, Inigo.
I know. I just say Montoya. It's easier for me. So back to the casting. Mama Maggie brought up Billy Crystal as Magic, as Miracle Max, and then Carol Kane as Valerie. So Billy Crystal, once he got the makeup on, he started like spouting off, and he's one of those in character people. Like if he's got it on, he's in character at all times. And so he was finding the voice while he's in the makeup chair and found it and then just latched on. And a lot of if I remember correctly, some of the stuff was ad-libbed for Miracle Max, which makes complete sense because Billy Crystal's like,
yeah,
he's got comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can hear him just saying stuff, and they're like, "No, we got to keep that, guys. We got to keep it."
Yeah,
I agree because he does learn.
Yes, valid.
So yeah, I would think he'd be like, "Okay, don't let this guy's fast," because he's even saying it as they're fighting. He goes, "Oh, you're fast, and you're one guy." So he knows. He's like, "Okay, this is going to be different." Oh, and he's now choked me out. You know what I mean? So next time he's going to be like, "Okay, this I'm going to have to get him or corner him to where, you know what I mean? He's going to figure that out." I totally agree.
Maybe the chat can help
on your back.
Maybe the chat can help with this on the last point of casting. The person who is officiating the wedding. And the famous quote of marriage brings us new. All right, I'm not going to go through it because it's still also one of my favorite quotes too. And I've done it a few times. But that, I don't know if the guy, like, kind of like how Ariana Grande already has kind of a soft voice, but she bumped it up to play Kat on the Nickelodeon show and stuff. Like, she made it more high pitched and soft spoken and stuff like that. Which is not her normal voice. Same thing with Jennifer Tilly. She bumps up her voice to have that character that she normally plays. And I wonder if the officiator normally talks like that and just bumped it up, or if like there was just somebody and he's like, hey, I got this idea, and he spouts it out and they go, oh my God, yes. Because it almost steals the movie. Almost.
Let me see. I'll look up because it's Peter Cook, and I know he's done a lot, but I don't remember everything else that he's in.
Yeah.
Also, if you want to do the quote later on, I have a really funny story about that, so I can save it for later too.
Ooh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
I
still got my list of quotes. I'm not even at the on top of the cliffs. I just got to the tops of the cliffs of insanity in my list right now, so I'm trying to go in order.
All right, we'll get through some of these and then we'll get to those quotes because I want to hear them, because we're only going to be on for about an hour, 20 hour, 30 minutes today, guys. Let me see. Okay, this is one, the POV. So from the book to the movie. So in the book, we have the son is being read to by the grandfather. So it's the son telling the story. Is it the son?
No. He gives. All right, in the abridged version, the Robert Renner, if I remember his name correctly, that's the director, talks about how his father read this book to him in the forward.
The old
talks about, hey, my dad read this to me and everything, and then it's not until I tried to get my son to read it that I realized my dad abridged it for me, so I wanted to abridge it myself. And I wrote the publishing industry and said, hey, it's been a while, let's do this. And they said, okay, gave their blessing. So that's just the foreword. And then there's like a little bit of an afterword, or like an insert where he says, hey, my wife would be mad at me if I didn't insert this last part. So then he inserts the last, but the rest of it is the book.
Yep.
And so you can see between the book and the movie, no matter which book you have, that Robert Renner definitely, as the director, it pulled that experience in of his father reading it to him and changed it to his grandfather, the kid's grandfather. So it's kind of a little bit of self-insertion. But when you're the director, it's your right. And he went from there. And I actually, from the movie side, I like the jumping back and forth. Honestly,
I like the movie a little bit more too. It made me wish that we gotten a little bit more of that in the book. Like, insert yourself, because when he jumped in and talked about how my wife, when they tumbled down the hill, and he tried to skip the kissing part, and the wife was like, "Oh, why? No, we don't skip that part."
Yeah.
So I wish we'd have gotten more of that. So I actually did also like that we got more of that in the movie with the grandson and the grandfather.
Fred Savage, yeah, I liked. So they both were experts at their own mediums. Where the movie did it wonderful of a grandfather reading the book to a kid, and then the book did it really well with the abridged version with notes in there. And one of the things I really liked about the book that they couldn't do in the movie, I guess they could have, but it wouldn't have worked quite as well, is when they included this snarky moment of, hey, there's 55 pages going in the backstory in the original text that was just too boorish, so I'm just going to cut all that out. And I have a note here of how 5 pages was spent packing, 10 was in travel, and then 5 was in unpacking their luggage afterwards. So this was a fun skip that I don't think will work really as well in the movie unless you show the grandfather just flipping through the pages.
Yep.
They did summarize it pretty well, and stuff. So a slight change, and I'm shifting gears a little bit, is that, oh, thank you, is that I liked, actually, the entire conversation in the book between Prince Humperdinck and Buttercup, where she's like, I don't love you. He's like, I didn't say anything about love. We're in agreement then? Well, we'll just get married. Hey, you can have no love and stay poor, or marry me and be powerful, rich, whatever. And she's like, fine, and like, I'm not gonna have love anyway, and stuff like. And I kind of like that understanding, and it made made it seem a little bit better for the two of them, more logical, like it was a business maneuver for Buttercup. And I enjoyed that aspect. But also, if you're going to have this entire plot of murdering your wife and everything, you can't really have this whole agreement of, it's fine, we don't love each other.
Right.
Oh, that reminds me of another quote.
Oh, go for it. Yeah, because I would always be suspicious then. Because they don't touch on that till much later, and then he like changes his mind on it or something like that, where he's like, "Oh, we can't have them."
Well, I guess for
Yeah,
him to be a prince, future king, he wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't look good and be like, "Hey, you let your fiance just go because she said she loved someone else and it turned out he was alive." Like it would reflect badly on him. So, I mean, I could see a logic to, all right, murder instead, and frame the other country so we can go to war. But then I was also wondering in the movie at that part, I was like, well, what's the importance of war? Why? Like, why do you want to go to war? Are you trying to grab that land and own it? Because that wasn't explained. So that was a little thing. But for the POV overall between the movie and the book, it was kind of I can say it wrong every time, but all knowing. Yeah,
I like that actually, because I don't feel like I'm missing anything.
Exactly.
The one peeve I have with sometimes when I'm reading YA is that you can only get that one person's POV unless they split it between different POVs. So there's other action going on that you don't get to know, you don't actually get to see. So one of the things about this is that you get to see, while this is happening with Buttercup, this is what's going on with the Man in Black, and then this is what's going on with Fezzik and Inigo. And so you get to see how all of the pieces are moving at the same time. So I actually like that.
Yeah. And with the book, it really made it clear how bloodthirsty the prince was. How you could see how he would actually willingly marry a woman, then kill her and make it frame the other country for it, also that he could go to war.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my thing. I just want to know why war. Why?
Yeah, why
like,
war?
what benefit? What? Do you want the land? Do they have resources? I don't know. Yeah, either way. But that was the POV. I still think was good. I like the overarching, and because then also you can trust the narrator. I mean, there are times that you can't trust it when it's all knowing, because if they know all, why aren't they telling you certain things?
Yeah.
But I still enjoyed that, because it was like knowing all in the present, not knowing all in how it ends type situation. So that's the POV. So we covered world building, we covered cast, we covered POV.
We're getting ready to go to worst change. What do you think?
That's a tough one.
I didn't read the book, so I don't have an answer.
So it's the worst change in the movie, or it's the worst change in the book?
Either
way.
Okay, because this would be the best change in the movie then. So I don't know if you want me to just wait for that till later.
Okay, yeah. The next one is best change from book to movie. So if you want to save that one,
I can hold off. Yeah.
I think, you know what, we kind of touched on it before, but I feel like the book did a better explanation of like the rhyming and that Fezzik did, and had the banter, and so they did cut that, and I understand why they cut that. For otherwise this would be like a 3-hour movie if we included everything. So I feel like that was for the worst, but they did okay with what they had.
Yeah. For me, I think I'm not sure why they changed it from sharks to eels, but the eels were pretty creepy, so I'm okay with it. Like, it's not. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about it.
I feel it invoked more the fantasy aspect by changing it to eels, because everyone's like, oh, sharks, okay, sharks. They're everywhere. But going screeching eels is like, they make sound. I thought fish don't make sound. What's going on here?
Yeah, so that one I'm like, I'm not mad about it. I wouldn't call it a worse change. The only thing I did like that we got more in, I feel like we got more in the beginning of the book, but I feel like that happens most of the time, that the beginnings are crunched into just a few minutes where you get much more. And that goes into the detail of why the prince was
That's
marrying
right.
all of that. We find all of this out in the very beginning.
Yeah, because like the
Just
six
kinda
finger
top.
man notices the buttercup and everything and is already taken with her beauty, even though she hadn't bathed or brushed her hair in however long and everything. Who knows? They were on lockdown or something. I can relate. They but then and then the prince is like, oh, I need to find a bride, and he's like, hey, I got an idea. So it kind of like it unfolds that, because otherwise how would Humperdinck meet a commoner?
Yeah, because she in the movie she just comes out and he's like, this is your future queen, and she comes out, and it's like she went from being the girl on the farm.
They did keep it consistent because she was 17 and they said 5 years later. All right, 22 done. Like, so they kept that part consistent.
Yes, so you know that there's a gap. You just don't understand how they ended up meeting.
Oh, and let me just say, my husband and I both said this because apparently my husband never saw the movie, so he watched it with me yesterday. We both agreed that if my husband, I hadn't seen him in 5 years, and he was wearing a mask that just went from here, facial hair or not, even if it was a full Grizzly Adams thing going on instead of just like a caterpillar, I'd figure it out it was him. Like,
especially because her big thing was his blue eyes like the sea. I'm like, you can see his eyes. Right there.
Look at me. Oh my God. Yes. Okay. Sorry. So that's a worse change. It's like, okay, seriously, like, can we figure out a mask situation or make a full beard or something? Because a full beard would be harder. There is people where I'm like, they shave their like full beard. I'm like, oh my God, I did not know you looked like that. You know?
But then they would have needed to give Carrie Elways a fake beard at the start of the movie and then just have him shave it off later, and that would have looked pretty weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
True. I mean, well, they did really well with Miracle Max looking as old as he does, and Valerie. So I think they at least had the budget. So I definitely agree. I like the Eels.
Yeah, I think we're saying that the Eels was actually a good change. So
yeah. So are we good to cross over to the good changes?
I read through my notes and I got one last thing. So the torture device itself in the books was this really robust thing. It was like a horror machine. And then in the movies, it kind of was like a joke. Yeah. I mean, it definitely wasn't satirical, but it looked goofy. Like, it definitely wasn't how I would have imagined it. And watching the one scene where it does suck the 20 years of life from Wesley it didn't have the same impact as it did in the book. And also in the book, it mentioned explicitly that, hey, he's only got 20 years left, so doing this will kill him. And then the movies just kind of implied that we're sucking out so much life from him that it will kill him.
Yeah, I think when I was a kid watching it, I did like it wasn't scary, but I did like the way that the water comes in and then it makes the whole things like that fascinated me with the pulleys and stuff like that. So I like seeing but then I was like, oh, this thing's but I don't know what it's doing to him. Like watching the movie, I don't know. Like, I can't see what it's doing, but he's reacting to it very strongly. Yeah. So
the closest they got to it was the six-finger man said, suction cups are very useful, but these suction cups suck the life out of you. That was the explanation. I'm like, okay, so you got it here on his stomach. Where's life on the body?
I don't know. It was 1987. I think they could have done something, make some smoke or something come out of his body to make it look like life was leaving his body. I don't know. But yeah, that was definitely more threatening in the book. And I read it and did audio. The audio narration is excellent. If anybody wants to see what the difference is, but you maybe don't have time to read, the audio book was excellent. So but it's definitely that the torture device was way more threatening in the book. So it was like,
Yeah, there's also the zoo there too, so you could actually see animals dying or read animals dying that wasn't in the movie. And again, the movie is really streamlined, so it makes perfect sense that they didn't do it. They might have even filmed it and just cut it out, or it would have been way too graphic for children to see a dead, mouse or animal or whatever leaving, being tossed aside. But in the books, it went into some pretty good details.
So in the book, one of my favorite parts is they talk about the spider that's behind the doorknob or something, right before you go to the 4th or 5th level, and you're like waiting for it, and it's the description of how it's the most deadly thing, and then either Fezzik or Montoya goes like, they're like, all right, let's just get through this, and they push through the door. The door swings open in a split second, because they said also this spider will like jump on you in a split second, like you have no time to react. The door swings open, slams against the wall, and squishes the spider. Like, it was so funny to me listening to it, because I'm like, oh my god, how are they going to survive a spider bite? This spider sounds so deadly. And then I'm like, I see what you did there.
Maggie, I'm going to save that comment for when we get to quotes. Did you get that one?
Which one?
Where about the Simpsons moment?
Oh.
Yeah. Yes. I saw it's in here, because that has become a meme, because there's an entire series. If you look anywhere, it said books or movies that predicted the future, and that was one of the lines used.
Okay, and so let's go to, since we did our worst. Oh wait, was there another one? No, I wouldn't call it a worst or a best, but just the way that kind of it played out, the wedding, when Wesley's comes in on the wedding. I don't think it mattered. But it played out a little, just the wedding part played out a little bit differently.
It was also a lot more interspersed in the book. So we actually saw, like, it was just jumping back and forth between the multiple scenes and all the different pieces that are going on. Whereas in the book, in the movie, it was a little bit more separated. Yeah.
So I would say I'm neutral. Like, the changes that they made, I'm with the exception of that machine was the torture device wasn't great. Most of I don't call them worst changes because they worked. So I'm like, I'm okay with it. I'm neutral on it. All right. So what do you think were your best changes? I know, Ben, you said you had one.
Oh, I got a bunch, so I don't know how we want to necessarily or how deep into spoilers we want to go. But I think that overall the best change is that in the book version, the author going through the abridged version doesn't really change across the story. Whereas in the movie, we can see Fred Savage's character actually grow and no longer be, disgusted by kissing scenes. So in just that short period of time, we can see the audience of the movie getting more mature as just in that one reading.
Yeah. I like that, because at the end he's like, I don't mind. He's like, oh, I got to skip the end. And he's like, well, wait, I don't mind so much. How did it end? He's like, it's kissing stuff.
Mm-hmm. So we actually saw our sort of audience stand-in evolve as the show went on.
Yeah, because it wasn't about sports. Hey, where's the sports?
Oh, but it's got adventure.
Yeah.
Hey, but throwback, if you want to know the year, the start of the movie, starting with the baseball game.
That's how we played
like
video
8-bit.
games. Oh my gosh, that is legit how we played video games. I'm like, I remember this. And the He-Man action figure on his bed. If you had He-Man action figures, you recognize this immediately. Go back and watch the beginning scene when he's sick in bed. He's laying in bed. He's got this little shelf behind him. There's a He-Man action figure. I'm like, my brother had that.
Mm-hmm. It's only 35 years ago.
Oh my gosh. Thanks for that, Ben. Yes.
Yeah, I grew up with the He-Man action figures too. My brother also had them.
Yeah. right. Any more favorite changes? Go ahead and you can roll them off because I'll probably just react to them like, yeah.
Well, I thought the ending was better too. So in the book, it leaves things very open-ended in terms of what they do after the events. And then in the movie, it still leaves things pretty open-ended, but it still shows that Inigo turns into, or likely becomes, the Dread Pirate Roberts. And then it shows, or it sounds a lot happier too, where it shows, I'm going back and forth between the actors, but Carrie Elways and Robin, it shows them having their happily ever after, whereas in the book, it kind of hints that the prince might be hunting them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah. Which, oh, by the way, to the pain, like, wow. Like, to me, that powerful, like, if words were swords, like, perfect.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I love that explanation too. Seeing that him explaining it to the pain. And how
I think this was and I think this was another change. So Wesley said he became the Dread Pirate Roberts, and the current Dread Pirate Roberts that took him in kept on saying, well, good night, Wesley. You'll be dead by morning. You know, I'll most likely kill you in the morning. And apparently he said that over for 3 years. Whereas in the book, he actually took him under his wing as someone to coach, not someone to like mentally beat up.
Yeah, kind of
like he actually coached them in the book. So I kind of liked the little bit of play. It wasn't immediate like, oh yeah, sure, I'll take you on. Hey, here's my secret. It was, you know, in the movie, it was, I'm most likely
this kid finally is growing on me. Okay, I'm not going to kill him again. All right, I kind of like, I'm not going to kill him again today. And then until finally he's like, okay, this is my kid. All right. Oh, let me see. I'm missing comments. Yeah, agree with Ben on the ending being better.
Thanks, Barrett.
And sword fighting is its. Yep, rope climbing is a sport. Cross country running and horseback riding are sports. Yes. Yeah, I agree. I like the ending better, a little bit more detail. I laughed about how. Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, we got someone in here who's never read the book or seen the movie. So thank you for joining us. And I really hope that we've convinced you to at least watch or read one of them.
Sorry for all the spoilers.
It is a beautiful movie. So you should really. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Even with the spoilers, it's a delight to read or watch, either one. But I would say watch it and then read it.
Yeah.
I usually don't recommend that, but I think it was actually better in a way. And if I ever like get the physical book and not the abridged version, I think it will make the boring parts a little easier.
Yep. Totally agree. Do it, Sin. It's good. It's good.
One of us.
We got any more favorite changes?
With my notes. Yeah, I'm kind of on the fence about this. So the book included, like I mentioned before, included the backstory for Fezzik, Inigo, all of them. And I feel like, yes, it adds a lot more to their characters, but it probably would have slowed down the movie. So I'm okay with them cutting out a lot of those details. But it does make their fight scenes and them breaking into the castle more entertaining and more interesting because you know that backstory. Or when Inigo and Fezzik get reunited, when they go back to where everything began again.
Yeah. If I not mentioned before, I love that whole going back to the beginning thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just when Fezzik sees Inigo again. And I love how in the movie, the way that Fezzik takes care of Inigo and sobers him up very quickly. I'm like, oh, he's so, look at him.
The voiceover.
Very roughly.
the voiceover as he's dumping his head into water. Fezzik took great care of Montoya and helped him
He was
get better.
literally like tossing him around, but he really is caring for him. So it's like,
Yeah.
love
I
it
will
so
say
much.
there is a difference, and I'm on the fence of whether it was good or not, but they go see Miracle Max. In the book, Miracle Max gives them the pill and everything, and he does it in the movie. But in the book, after they left, in the book, he's going, oh, wait, did I get the math wrong? Like, he's double checking. He's like, no, if we cut 40 minutes, but then I added this, and that would make it, like, and he's doing the math going,
on
shoot.
the timing.
Like, and I kind of like that, like, jumping back and forth between Wesley trying to get better and then like Miracle Max going, I think I screwed up the measurements.
This is a little longer.
And yeah, sorry, that reminds me that the book actually at the end starts going into almost a 24 version where it's like, here's 5 minutes to when the pill runs out. Here's 20 minutes to when they think the pill runs out. And so it shows minute by minute breakdowns of the before the wedding, during the wedding, and then after. And so it's a lot more strict time based.
Yeah, I love it.
You're right.
And all right, are you ready, Natalie? Did you get them?
Give us your best
Almost. One. I'm trying to find the and I can at least refer to them. But okay, I'm not going to find the exact one that I was looking for. So what I have, I'll go through the list as much as I can. So of course, As You Wish is like one of the most common ones, and that's one of the first ones we hear.
Even Boba Fett said it.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, that was a solid one. So I love the line. The kind of the lead in, it was more of a punch, is when Buttercup is on her daily rides and Vizzini, Fezzik, and Montoya stop her and goes, oh, is there any villages around? She's like, no, it's not one for miles. And they're like, good, no one will hear you scream. And grab her. That was like one of those, like, nice. Then the inconceivable, of course, being used continuously. And then even the back and forth that said, where the last rhyme we hear is, anybody want a peanut? Before jumping to the next screen. Then saying inconceivable on and going up the cliffs is insanity, and saying, and then finally Montoya says, you keep using that word. I don't think it means what you think it means. Which is, by the way, for any writer, so many times we use words that were apparently wrong.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I totally didn't use that word right. It wasn't what I thought it
was. And then, like, for me, the entire banter between Montoya and the Man in Black at the time, and he's like, and this is in the book too, where it's like, I swear on the soul of Domingo Montoya, I will bring you to the top alive. He's like, I don't know who that is. And he's like, that's my father. And he's like, okay, throw me the rope. And so, and I, by the way, the amount of respect between those two characters, that's like, I just thought that was lovely. But then the line of masks are very comfortable. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future. Can we say foreshadowing? Then the line of, as they're sword fighting and they go, but I know something you don't. I am also not left-handed. And then they switch. Then even Montoya says the line, who are you, at one point in the battle? And he goes, someone of no consequence. And he goes, I have to know. Then Wesley says, get used to disappointment, which I tell my 4-year-old multiple times a day. All right. I got to read my handwriting. All right. Then the line, I love this and I know it by heart. I don't know why I wrote it down. You seem like a distant fellow. I hate to kill you. You seem like a distant fellow. I hate to die. Just that, like, it's the epitome of respect they had for each other. Fezzik, when he says, my way's not very sportsmanlike, when Vizzino tells him how to hide behind a rock and then bash Wesley with another rock when he comes around. And then when the battle of wits between Vizzini and Wesley, and Vizzini goes, never go against a Sicilian when death is on the line. That whole thing. Then when they're going into the fire swamp, Wesley, Buttercup is like, oh, we're going to die. And then Wesley says, nonsense. You're only saying that because no one has ever come out alive. Like, Wesley mentality, it was just spot on of like, yeah, you'll be fine. Just have a positive mentality. Just because no one's ever done it before doesn't mean you won't. All right. And then when they meet Miracle Max and Miracle Max is explaining the difference between all dead and mostly dead. And he's got the bellows as he's speaking between the two. And then the back and forth of between Miracle Max and Valerie. And he goes, oh, no, he said to blade, which is similar to bluff. And, you were playing cards. And Valerie comes around, liar! And her running around. And she's like, liar, true love. And then, of course, he finally jumps on and goes, wait, this is going to ruin Humperdinck? Huh, here we go. Here, give me the 65. And stuff. And then one of my favorite lines, we're wrapping chocolate around. And one of the characters goes, chocolate? And Valerie goes, it helps it slide down easier. Then... as they're waving to the camera, bye, have fun storming the castle, which, by the way, is a parting phrase that my entire family does after we finish visiting each other and we're leaving. So we go, bye, have fun storming the castle. Think it'll work? They're going to need a miracle. As more of the banter back and forth. One of my favorite lines, a little bit of a downer, but also still funny in the context of this movie, is when Humperdinck... after Buttercup explains to Humperdinck, like, I'm not going to marry you. I'm going to marry Wesley. Like, I love him. I made a mistake. I need to do this. And he goes, okay, fine. We'll send out my 4 fastest ships and do all that. And he looks at her and goes, hey, listen, if you did, reject this guy and he's probably hurt and whatever, if he doesn't respond or rejects you back after this, could you think of me as an alternative to suicide? And I was like, wow, how many relationships that started with that line? All right. Then the line that I was looking for just now is in when Wesley is like completely limp, leaning against, which by the way, the acting of that, like the whole flop in the head of like, that, like perfect. So when he's leaning like that and Fezzik goes, oh, look, you wiggled your finger. He goes, I have been dead. And he says a line, and I'm going to paraphrase because I couldn't find it exactly unless I started playing videos. He's like, I have been dead. And we have to go against 60 men with his sword, my brains and your brawn and everything. And you think I'm going to be happy about a little pinky wiggle or something like that? Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, let's don't count our kitchen. Chickens before they hatch.
Like, look, you're doing so much better.
Yeah. And he's like, I can't move. Then so I thought that was good. And then while Wesley's on the back of Montoya as they and you don't know exactly what's happening. So I thought the delivery of here's the plan and then enacting the plan, they planned it off screen. And so we're kind of seeing it real time, whether it's going to work or not, which by the way, tip for anybody. If the plan is planned off screen, that means as you watch it, you okay?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. If the plan is off screen and then it's enacted on screen, that means it's going to work. They're going to succeed. If it's planned on screen and in detail, that probably means something's going to go wrong. And it may work, but it's not going to be the way they intended if it does. Just throwing that out there for anybody
writing
that. Yeah, it happens. So while Wesley's on Montoya's back, Montoya's like struggling, which by the way, where did he get the strength? I'm just saying. And he's like, now? And Wesley's like, not yet. It's like, what are they waiting on? And then finally he goes, now, a few minutes later, and Wesley goes, light them. And then they light them. And then they're at the gate. The 60 men have, and I said this earlier, 60 men have left the area. Yezin's standing there, and he says, that's when Montoya says, where's the gate key? What gate key? I don't have no gate key. Fezzik tears arms off. Oh, you mean this gate key? Which is similar to the line of when Montoya outside the pit of despair instead of the zoo, different from the book and story, the book and the movie. They like Mom and Maggie pulled out as they said, "Oh, where's the pit? Where's the man in black?" And of course, the keeper of the pit shakes his head no, and he goes, "Fezzik, jog his memory," hits him on the head. He passes out. Interesting fact, by the way, Wesley, when he's knocked on the head after the fire pit, he actually got knocked out. Carrie Ells did. They kept on recording it like 20 times, and finally, Carrie Ells was like, "Just hit me, okay?" Concussed.
My goodness.
Yeah, but that's the clip they used, was him actually passing out.
It's probably like, that's the one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not going to do it again after that.
No.
So back to the quotes. All right. So there's going on. And of course, while they're going through the gate, we have our beautiful moment of marriage brings us together today. Do you have the ring? Say man and wife, and then back and forth.
Yeah.
All right. And then, so the marriage ends, which, let's face it, Buttercup didn't say I do, so technically doesn't count as a marriage. Thank you, Wesley, for that input. Yep. And the king is escorting Buttercup. I'm just summarizing this movie in like 2 seconds.
That's fine.
Well,
I'm
actually,
like into
more
it.
like 5.
I'm like, yeah, that's what happened. Go ahead.
Yeah. The king is escorting Buttercup with the queen, which threw me off. And she's not mentioned like hardly at all, ever. Like, which, I mean, that's actually a pretty cool gig to be like an extra, but you get to be in a lot of scenes, and you're kind of you're the queen. All right. But the king is escorting Buttercup, and Buttercup has already determined that she's going to kill herself. And so she says, "You've always been so kind to me," and kisses him on the cheek. And then as they continue walking, he goes, "She kissed me." As they continue walking. Get to the room. And you just see her getting on there, and she's ready to stab herself. And Wesley goes, there's a shortage of perfectly good breasts in the world. It would be a pity to damage yours." Great line. Yeah. Good compliment too. Bravo. Okay. And then of course she's like, Wesley grabs his face, kisses him, and goes, "Gently."
I love that scene.
I love the line. And then she bangs his head against the back. I'm just saying. Yeah. And then while that's happening, down in the cellar basement or whatever, that's Inigo Montoya is saying his famous line. My name is Inigo
love this
Montoya.
scene so much. "You
killed my father, prepared to die." Stop saying that. "My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father, prepared to die." And then he goes, "Give me money." "Yes." "Give me whatever, give me power, give me women." "Yes, yes, give me anything I ask for." "Yes." "I want my father back, you son of a bitch." And kills him. Finally.
Yeah.
But then, I mean, I'm glad they highlighted, because Inigo Montoya was like, for 20 years, I've been looking for revenge. I finally got it. What do I do now? So, and then I believe the line that Wesley says right before they jump out of the window, which, by the way, I did jump ahead a little bit. Wesley says, "I think you would look good in black." Or did you ever think about piracy?
Yeah, the prophetic
both.
line.
I think both of those lines were used. It's definitely piracy, but black, I think you would look good at it. Okay, so Wesley is talking to Buttercup and says, "But you didn't say I do." And then he goes, "Isn't that right, Your Highness?" Which, by the way, strange that he gives him the respect of the title. I'm just saying. And the Highness was like, "Oh, yeah, well, that's a technicality I plan to fix." And then they have the entire exchange where he says, and I love the interruption, because it was on point with Humperdinck, of "To the pain." Okay, fine. I'm not familiar with this phrase. What's "to the pain"? "To the pain. I will cut your feet off at the ankles so you can no longer walk. I will cut your hands off at the wrist. Oh, and then you'll gouge my eyes. No, then I will cut out your tongue." Or, "I'm not finished. I will cut out your tongue and take my eyes and my ears. No, I will leave your ears so you can hear. My God, what is that thing from every woman and child, and every screech of a child that sees your hideous face," or whatever. And what else was it?
He's legit stalling for time to hear.
Yeah, which is funny, because he totally did that to Vizzini when they were having the battle of wits. He's like, "You're stalling. I'm not going to give away anything." Which, by the way,
Vizzini figured it out.
Yeah, he did.
And the prince did not.
Yeah. Vizzini, by the way, was stalling in that scenario, and which is interesting because Wesley did it, but no one else figured it out. There was part in there with the Battle Woods. Never mind. Okay, as I was. Next line. What? Okay, so he finally, Humperdinck is like, you're lying, you're bluffing. He's like, am I? And then he stands up, and I always thought he shook when he stood up, but he didn't. He stands up and goes, drop your sword. Drops like a wuss.
Yep.
And then what's funny is that as Buttercup's tying him up and Wesley finally collapses, he's like, I knew it. I knew he was bluffing. Dude, you're still in the, you may have said it.
It's still tied up. You fell for it. You didn't take a chance.
Saying. Yeah. And I remember what I was going to say about the Vizzini Battle of Woods situation. So in the book, Wesley was actually getting pissed off and mad. I'm glad they had him keep his cool and go, I'm not going to give away anything. You can't do that. And like, he stayed calm. So I will say that because that made him look a little bit smarter and wittier, to use the phrase. All right, back to it. Tied up Humperdinck, taking care of it. And then they finally hear Fezzik. And one of my favorite lines is Fezzik looking up going, hi, pretty lady. And she's just like, hi, person I've never seen before. They all fall down in that, by the way, totally 1980s. I got Labyrinth vibes a little bit of the fall from the window.
I think I should have put this in a change that I didn't like. I like in the book how Fez says, oh, it's only 20 feet. I'll catch you. Because they don't say that in the movie.
Yeah, because you think it's probably like 5 stories up or something, being in a castle, and that's what you kind of imagine, not like the second story, which would be easy, or at tops the third and stuff. So, interesting. Oh, I also just remembered a line. This was my father's favorite line growing up, so it's only nostalgic for me because it was his favorite, but not, I never really understood it. But after Wesley knocks out Fezzik is laying there, and Wesley says, have sweet dreams and dream of large women, and then leaves.
I like that too.
I was like, what?
I don't know why, but it made me chuckle.
What if his deal is women who are 4 foot? I mean, there's a lot of actors out there that are like muscular and everything, and their wife is like really under 5 feet. I'm just saying.
The mountain, yeah.
Exactly. So back to the story. So it's where he goes, hi, pretty lady, and she waves back and everything, and they hop on the horses, and they drive off to the sunset. And then the line of, there have been 3 great kisses in the history of kisses, and this kiss blew them all out of the water. The end. Insane.
Yep, love it.
And I'm sure I missed so many quotes.
Yeah. I love the one that Maggie posted about masks are very comfortable. Soon everyone will be wearing them. And
I think everyone will be wearing them in the future.
Yeah. She also posted the other one of, once word leaks out that a pirate has gone soft, people begin to disobey you, and then it's nothing but work all the time.
Oh yeah.
I love that one.
Oh
my God. Though. He's like, I've already got the reputation. Just keep passing it on. Don't screw it up.
That was the cool thing in the book, is it actually shows Wesley, or maybe the pirate before him, getting control of the ship, and then their first piracy raid immediately fails because they're themselves and not the Dread Pirate Roberts. So they use it as an example of why the lineage needs to be passed on, because otherwise they don't respect just a regular old pirate, but they respect the Dread Pirate Roberts. And then another quote that I found interesting was, life is pain, princess. Anyone who says differently is selling something.
Yes. Selling something. I love that. I'm like, oh my God, I just pictured every single infomercial that is showing, are you trying to cut the old way? And it's like all black and white and gray. It's like, try this. And it has an X-Acto knife or something. I'm like, really?
Well, the interesting thing is that in the book, it was Fezzik's mother who said that line instead of Wesley to Buttercup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was in the backstory that was cut, and there was such a applicable line that they brought it back into the movie and just had somebody else say it.
Barrett, what are you talking about gifting? Because there's a whole bunch of stuff there.
I think that was when it was one of your, while you were going through the quotes, he posted that. So maybe but
I make a lot of crazy faces. I'm not sure where it was going, but yeah, there's so many quotes in this, so many times. I'm the type of person where my entire comedy sketch side hustle thing, which that's not actually a side hustle. Pretty much, if you have a conversation with me, you're going to, or be friends with me in any way, you need to be prepared for movie quotes and song lyrics, which is funny because I don't have, like, I try to learn stuff for work and I keep forgetting it, and it's probably because I have nothing but movie quotes and song lyrics in my head. But if you can hang with that, we're solid. And get my references, because there was one time, I was sitting around a group of friends, and they were going, "Oh, Monday's not good. Wednesday is really bad too." And I go, "And Friday, I'm in love." And they just all looked at me, and I'm like, "Guys, The Cure, come on. If you're gonna list every single day of the week, and then I jump in with Friday. Catch on."
Yeah, I loved it too. I'm with you, right there with you.
I think that's why. So let's talk about this for the last bit, not to hijack this conversation a little bit, but I think the reason this has become a cult classic is because when it came out, we were children. We all got exposed to this as children, almost all of us. And those of us who are getting exposed to this later in life, it still has that element of fun. Like, Morgan, you were talking about, you were aware of all the quotes. You were already using them and everything. And like, so it kind of, now you have that context and you're like, oh, that's even funnier than I thought. Or, okay, it's one of those, it's one of those quotes where we end up using it outside the movie so much that the quote changes, such as Luke, I'm your father, was actually just I'm your father. You know, it's just we use it so much outside that we change the quote. And so you might be more aware of that. But I feel each quote, even all the quotes that I just listed, I think it's the script itself, which was pulled. So a lot of it was pulled from the book, by the way, such as that Sicilian line, then the wait, what is that? During that scene. Like that was in the book. And I think that because those little quotes can be applied into multiple real life scenarios, not in a fantasy, that's why it's kind of timeless. And then it kind of pokes fun at itself. And so we can make fun of it too.
And you feel the humor. You feel that humor from book to movie. You feel that humor.
I mean, we got a comedy, an action, a love story, a murder plot, a
princesses and pirates. I'm like,
yes.
Oh my goodness.
Fantasy. Yes. I mean, like it is multiple genres culminated together. And actually this is a cliche that I try to counter at one point in my TikToks, but it's a perfect storm, but it's a perfect storm in the best way, not in a negative connotation.
Yeah. I think for me, watching it now, when they're going through the forest and Wesley is perfect, like he's too perfect. Everything he says is perfect. Everything he does is perfect.
RUSs, I don't think they exist.
Yep. And he's like he figures out, he goes, well, when the fire is getting ready to come, he picks her up. Then you hear the click, and I'm like, he's too perfect. No, stop it.
Which I didn't realize that was in the book. And it said, hey, the flames kind of let you know they're coming by a clicking sound. And I'm watching the movie already. I knew the sound they're talking about.
Yep. So yeah, I just remember reading it and then watching it, and you're seeing, I'm like, he's too perfect. No. Like would I like that now? But because I was, a little kid watching this, I was like, he's perfect. I mean, even when she falls in the sand pit and then he goes in after her, you're just like, I know he's gonna rescue her. I'm like, it's ridiculous.
Did anybody else hold their breath during that scene to see if you could do it?
No, I can't.
I do that. I do that.
I've done that in other
scenes. I hold my breath and I fail every time.
Every time.
Because
some of those diving scenes too.
Yeah.
Not in this movie, but in general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if I see diving or like someone being pushed underwater and everything, like I'm like, I hold my breath and I go, yeah, no, I would have been dead. Good thing this character is fake and this scene probably is cut with like 20 minutes of footage from different angles. But yeah.
You're so lucky, Maggie.
I think that's also is that it's because of the multiple genres, it appeals to multiple people. too.
Mhm.
And so therefore it becomes like almost a bonding, a camaraderie among people. And that's what I think that's why it also became a cult classic, because we could all relate to it and say certain things. Like I still, every now and then I go inconceivable, and my husband will give me the line back of, I don't think that means what you think it means. Or we'll just say, I don't think that means what you think it means, whenever like I use
Someone
a
says
word the
something.
wrong way.
Yeah, and it's so impressive how pervasive this is across all cultures. I mean, not all cultures, but like how pervasive this is across our lives, even now. They did the line in The Office where you have Michael Scott making fun of it. And fun fact, one of the few things I vetoed at my own wedding, my brother-in-law was officiating it, and he wanted to do that line, and I'm like, no, I can't take you seriously if you go through with that.
Done it.
I'm okay with how things ended up.
I got married in my parents' living room for like just under $2,000, and we're about to have our 11-year wedding anniversary, so I think it's paid it for itself by now.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But oh my god, I always loved marriage, and every now and then, like, and actually, so usually the way I use the line marriage, if I try to incorporate that, it's when I'm stumbling over my words already. Then I just go marriage wings, and as a like, let's start over, like clean swipe.
And I can think back and seeing people do that, and I'm like, are they pulling that from? And they probably are. When you get tongue tied and you're like, well, let's
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of doing like one of those like tongue
Mouthing
twisters
into-
or something, which by the way, here I'm going to share the tongue twister. Not many people are familiar with this one, but the tongue twister I kept on getting as a kid was, I am not the sheet slitter. I am the sheet slitter's son, but I will split sheets till the sheet slitter comes. I'm not going to say that any faster than that.
That's all you.
As someone who fights a lisp, not going to try that one.
No, did you know how many times these TikToks I batch filmed like 3 of them? One of my videos that I haven't edited yet, 4 minutes long. It's a TikTok. It's under a minute. Like usually mine are like 47 to 50 seconds, and it took me 4 minutes to get there. I struggle. All right, back to the movie.
Yes, back to the movie. Any final thoughts? I'm curious, Morgan, reading it or watching it now.
Yes.
Would you read the book? Like, what did you think? Like,
I definitely want to read the whole book. I was going to listen to the abridged version, but I thought it was like, I read somewhere that it was just the same as the movie, so I didn't want to listen to it. But I want to read the whole thing, like the whole full book. But the movie, I don't know. I was enraptured the whole time I was watching it. And I kept because I'm a quote person too. So I kept noticing lines from other things. I was like, is this where it comes from?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah.
Oh,
so
when you get the context.
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And I'm like, oh, that's where this line comes from. That's why people say this all the time. But yeah, I don't know. It was great. I kind of feel like, because my sister, she's an 80s baby, so she has seen all of these things, all the 80s movies I haven't seen. I think because she's so much older than me, like she wouldn't watch things with me, which is why I don't think I saw a lot of like all of the classic like 80s movies and things like that. But I don't know. I love this movie. It was great. It's now one of my favorite movies.
Yeah. We reeled one in.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm so glad. So you would watch it again. Is this a movie like when you find out someone else has not seen it, you'll be like, oh, sit down with me on the couch right now.
Yes. And I love things I can quote that are like, like memorable quotes. So yeah, this will come into my memory banks and I'll know the whole thing by heart soon. So yeah.
Hey, and then you'll do an entire spiel like I just did, which was not by heart exact, but I just remembered my last quote in the pit of despair when Wesley's laying there, and the guy comes over and goes, "Welcome to the pits of despair." yeah, pit of despair. Like, the satirical nature of that was just like perfect. I loved it.
Yeah. But my favorite quote, and it's just because of the way it was performed, I think, and it just stuck with me, is when he's, "My name is Inigo Montoya, and you kill him." I love that. I
And then
love that
then
as
the
a
meme.
kid. I remember we would play swords, and everybody wanted to be Inigo Montoya, and just to say that line.
Yeah, and then the meme, because I would teach for a little bit, and I would put that meme on my introduction slide, and it said, "Introduce yourself. My name is Inigo Montoya. State your purpose, state a personal fact. You killed my father." And then state your purpose. Prepare to die. And I was like, and that was my intro slide for everyone to introduce themselves.
Chandra, do it.
Chandra, you and I need to have a movie date, or like 10, because we've had this conversation a few times of different things that you haven't seen that I have, and I'm like, let me experience this with you. But see, I'm a horrible person to watch. My husband, for some reason, put up with it because he's never seen the movie. But every now and then, when something funny is about to go up, I'm watching it, and then I go,
yeah, I want to see the. Are you going to react to this?
And then I try to like block myself, but then I'm like doing this too. Like, I am staring him down.
Like, if they don't think that this is funny,
it's over. It's over if it's not funny. We're done.
Yeah. But yeah, I have so many favorite scenes, but yeah, just that line, I just loved it. And it's stuck with me. I just remember saying it as a kid whenever we play swords. Yes, I was a tomboy. And then the part where he says the one that you like too, where he said, "I want my father back." Like, I felt it when he said it. I'm like, he wants his father back. You did that to him. Die. I'm like right there with you, Inigo. Get him. So yes, it's a favorite.
It was a great one, and I'm waiting for us. Well, of course, we can pick what we're gonna review, but I'm waiting for the bad one. We haven't had one yet. Of course, it's only episode 2, but I'm just saying.
Yep.
That might be something worth doing, though. Find like the worst movie to book adaptation. We could do, Timeline is a perfect one for that.
Oh,
Congo, another one. Basically any Michael Crichton movie except for Jurassic Park.
Now, so there's Forrest Gump is completely different from the book. Jurassic Park, I believe, is also slightly different from the book.
Yeah, it's got some
and everything. So we could grab something that isn't quite similar, but we already got plans for the future. So, do you want to announce what? Well, we already announced on Instagram what the next one is.
The next one is
What day is that?
Bridgerton on the 20th, and we're gonna have our first guest on with us. So Zara Hoffman's gonna join us for that one. So
at 12 o'clock.
The first book, which is,
Easter.
if you want to read it, it's a quick read, and the first season. So get it if you want to watch it. Get it in. I did do a review of it on my channel. If you look through Adaptations, and I kind of like take you through. So if you don't have time to watch it, you can watch that. But yeah, we're gonna do Bridgerton, and then we're making plans for March. So looks like they'll be on the 6th and the 20th again for March, and they'll be at noon. So there usually will be at noon. But occasionally we'll have to like shift the time a little bit to work with our schedules. So I'm excited. And we've got so when we do Bridgerton, we'll announce the next 2 for March. I might announce them a little bit before. So if you're following us on Instagram, we'll post on Instagram as soon as we have it solidified, but we'll officially announce it when we do our Bridgerton. So you have the hard copy of the book.
Well, it's paper copy, but just to give you an idea, yes, it looks thick, but the font is pretty
friendly,
pretty straightforward. It's like it takes you less than a minute, depending on how you read. I read kind of slow, less than a minute to read a page. So this would be a very quick read.
Yeah.
The Netflix show is 8 episodes, I think, and I think it took me like 6 or 7 hours to read the book.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it was faster to read the book than it was to watch the show.
Yeah, 452 on the pages, and this is for the Duke and I. The cover is the Netflix cover, but I'm sure you can also find the standard one. I listened to the audiobook, and that, of course, went fast because 2 times speed, because that's how I roll. But yeah, in case anybody wanted to try to judge on how much time they can devote. And then also there is, not to promote other channels, but I sometimes cheat sometimes, and I go watch someone else's comparison between the two and everything. No rule against it, because they can't give me my opinion. They can give me facts. They can't give me my opinion.
That's true. So yeah, hope you guys want to join us for that one. Chandra says she's here for Bridgerton. Hey, if you're here, we might throw you a link. So, terrible movie adaptation. Brazen. Was it bad? Oh no!
It was so bad. She was telling me about it on our live stream yesterday on her channel for Flash Fiction Live. It was.
I was hoping it wasn't going to be bad. Oh
no! She said she ended up sending like 3 or 4 tweets and stuff, and it was like the script was bad, the acting was bad.
I heard the book was good.
Oh, that might be the love story was like set in 15 seconds, like pretty much like going, I like you too. Let's go on a date. Bye. Like,
keep taking it easy. Do not rush yourself, Barrett. Take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty in Pink. If you want to stay in the 80s genre, we'll do anything. We're gonna do modern. I mean, we'll do it all.
Oh my god!
But yeah,
I had no idea that was a book either.
Me either. This is me. I'm like,
I love it.
Oh my god, no idea.
Because so far, what we've done, I've read before, or like I'm at least familiar with one of them. Well, and I guess Pretty in Pink, I'm familiar with the movie, but I've seen Princess Bride way more recent than Pretty in Pink. So,
and I basically all but have Princess Bride locked up in my memory, so it's an easy one to rewatch.
Right. Oh, okay, she's gonna have to read the book now, but yeah. Oh, that's disappointing because I heard it was a good book and that's why it was. Oh, Nora. Oh. All right, are you guys ready to do your outros? I had so much fun talking about this one. I'm like,
I love it.
I love this one so much, and the movie. So many memories. And I'll probably watch it again and again and again. I'm like, all my kids are like, yeah, we've all seen it because I've watched it before. So
it is one of those movies that if it's on TV and I'm like scrolling through, it's gonna play. Like, there's a lot of movies, a good bit of movies that from my childhood that are that for me.
Absolutely. So, guys. We'll go clockwise around again, starting with Morgan. Let's go ahead and give our outros so that we can get out of here and get on to other things. This was a blast.
All right. So my name is Morgan Lee. All my stuff is linked down below, but I do live streams on Monday mornings and then post videos on Wednesdays and Fridays. So you can find me over there.
I am Natalie Locke. I balance motherhood, full-time job, and a writing passion. Okay, when I say passion, it's love, hate sometimes. But my links are down below. Follow me on Instagram as well as Chandra Author, as we're doing Flash Fiction February, and we do Flash Fiction Live, the next one on my channel, but we alternate every Saturday at 9 a.m. Eastern.
And I'm Ben Pick. I post weekly writing videos as Writing2Write on YouTube. And I'm snowballing towards my debut novel, so hopefully I'll pick up some more steam with that. And I'm sorry, I'm distracted by Maggie's comment of Alyssa Milano in a leather catsuit. So
I would be too. No judgment here.
Yeah, that's all I got.
And I'm Nia the Vixen of Fiction. You are here on my channel. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can catch us again on the 20th for Bridgerton, and on the 26th we'll be doing Authortubers React on my YouTube channel. So thank you guys. Catch me on a Friday sometime over on Twitch. Everything's linked below. Everyone's linked below. Please go and follow these fabulous people. And who knows, we might be doing some read-alongs or watch parties. So stay tuned, and we'll let you know when we do the Bridgerton what we have coming up for March. So we're thinking of our themes, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you so much. Have a great one. Let me pull up before I make everybody start waiting. You know how this goes. You'll be waiting for forever. All right. Bye, guys.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you for joining.